All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Career Tip Tuesday session. This is actually our last session of the semester. It's a good one. We've been waiting all semester to share it. So today we're going to be talking about transferable skills. I know the tag says changing careers, you're more qualified than you think, but transferable skills are actually a lot more applicable than just if you're changing careers. It could be if you are starting your career, you're doing something that you've never done before. So don't think, oh, well, I'm not changing careers. I'm staying where I've been for a while, or I'm starting something new, because this information is still applicable for you. All right. So I love a learning objective, and today you all will be able to know what a transferable skill is, be able to explain the importance of developing transferable skills, be able to communicate your transferable skills effectively, especially to people like employers or mentors in your life. And then students will also be able to know what transferable skills employers are expecting of them during the hiring process. Also, as I talk and share information today, if you've got any questions, please go ahead and send them in the chat. We've got time for questions at the end as well, but you can go ahead and send things as they come to you, and I promise that they'll get answered. But I think that we should always start with the building blocks and the basics. So, what's a transferable skill? A transferable skill is a versatile ability that is gained through experience, and it's versatile because it can be applied to many different jobs and industries. And there are two types of transferable skills. There are technical and workplace. You have also probably heard the term hard skills and soft skills before. A technical skill is a hard skill and a workplace skill is a soft skill. But for the sake of this presentation, I'll just be sticking to technical and workplace. A technical skill is something that focuses on knowledge, on hands-on abilities that enable someone to operate a particular tool. So this is, being able to operate a forklift or knowing a certain software or, um, how to use a website or a tool. A workplace skill is a trait that reflects how you work and interact with other people. So this can be a communication style, analytical thinking, or collaborative abilities. When we're worried about hard and technical skills, we're asking ourselves, do we have prior experience in the field? And if not, we're trying to convince someone to hire us. So especially if you're an entry-level employee or if you're changing careers for the first time, you want to convince employers, hey, I can do this job, even though it might not look like I have years and years and years of these technical experiences. Here's what I have to bring to the team. So why do these transferable skills matter? For starters, it can reduce training investments and stress on the sake of your part and for the company as well. This makes you an adaptable person. If you have strong verbal communication skills, you could have strong verbal communication roles. You could have strong verbal communication skills as a student and as an employee. You can have strong written communication skills in a healthcare field and in a cybersecurity field if you're making that transition. Both of those hold up across borders. Like I mentioned, the reduced training investment and stress on an employer's part can be cost effective if employers are hiring folks that they already know are problem solvers, they're analytical, they're adaptable. They're not having to put in tons of money on instilling these sort of basic level skills for folks. This also gives you a long-term value. If you have really strong transferable skills, the chances are higher that you'll demonstrate a greater capacity for growth and advancement within an organization. What I mean when I say this is you're showing employers that you offer the ability to potentially work your way up if those opportunities present themselves. So, what are employers even looking for? I love a good statistic every once in a while. So, these numbers come from a survey done in 2024 from NACE. NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And this survey reflects answers from actual employers on what they want to see from recent college graduates, specifically the class of 2025. And some of you may be in the class of 2025 or 2026. The numbers are still very similar. So When it comes to workplace skills that employers are looking for, they want to see critical thinking and problem solving. 88.3% of employers said that they want their new hires to be able to think critically and to solve problems. 81% of employers are looking for people who can collaborate with others and work in a team. 77.1% are looking for people with strong written communication skills. So think email, or things like charting, anything pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. They're looking for employees with strong verbal communication skills, and they're looking for employees who can adapt very quickly when circumstances change. In terms of technical skills, aside from area and industry specific skills, all employers want to see employees who are familiar with current technology. So the ability to use a computer, to use a phone, to use online messaging, things like that. That is what employers are honestly just expecting for all applicants to be able to do. So you might be sitting there and saying, I am not feeling very confident in my teamwork abilities. I feel like I'm lacking in my familiarity with technology. What do I do about it? And what I have to say about that is to build on those soft skills, um, I invite you to challenge yourself. Consistently practice them through real world examples and specific activities. So if you are in a group project with some classmates and you don't feel super confident in your verbal communication, or you've just always sort of struggled in a team setting, take that project as an opportunity to sort of step up, to challenge yourself in a safe environment, because we're all at school to learn. This is an environment for you to challenge yourself. So take those opportunities as they come. You can also work to improve these skills by seeking feedback and acting on it. So you can go to your instructor and say, "Hi, I don't feel super confident in my written communication skills. Is there anything that you can tell me based off of emails that we've exchanged that you think would help me improve on that?" And like I mentioned, pursuing specific learning opportunities. If you are in a field that has clinicals or shadowing experiences or anything like that, pay attention during those moments and ask for feedback. If you're a little worried about your technical skills, so maybe if you're looking at that familiarity with technology specifically, and you're like, I don't, I can turn my computer on and I can access Blackboard and I can complete my assignments and that's it. There are so many resources on the internet, especially resources for free. There are typing games, there are Google career certifications, there are online courses and videos on YouTube and things like that. I also believe that the Greenville Tech Library has some technology development opportunities as well. You just have to take advantage of them. You have to put yourself out of your comfort zone and be willing to learn something new. So we know what transferable skills are. We know what employers are looking for. What have, how do we identify these transferable skills within ourselves? Sometimes we are our harshest critics. Sometimes it's really difficult to know what you are good at inherently, to give yourself some credit. So I've broken it down into four-ish, easy-ish steps. And the first being you do have to sit down and reflect and maybe get some pen to paper and take some time out of your day. But identify 10 skills that you exhibit. Google a list of soft skills, of transferable skill, common transferable skills. Google a list of those, look at them, and just think, okay, yes, I'm a team player. I feel comfortable with teamwork. Boom, there's one. Or I'm a really creative person. I love making new processes. I love changing things. But there's another one. So first, identify the 10 skills that you most exhibit, and then reflect on how you've used these skills in your more recent roles. This also includes your role as a student. So if you're a visual person like me and you've got a piece of paper in front of you, you could have each skill as a little section header, and then you could do bullet points under all of them of, okay, teamwork. Yes, we had a group project last week and I was texting people, I was contributing, I followed up with people when I didn't hear back from them. Boom. And there's some overlap into verbal communication. So there's that, boom. Think about the things that you've done recently. Write those examples down and try to be as comprehensive as possible. And this will really benefit you when you're creating your resume, when you're in an interview and an employer says, tell me about a time when you did this. Or, you say you're good at team back, give me an example. Boom, you've already got this list of examples that you can pull from. So once you have your examples and how you've used those skills in the past, jot down any key achievements that have resulted. So going back to our group example here, if you guys got an A, if you did very well, if you have ever gotten like employee of the month, or if you've ever achieved perfect attendance or something like that, think of those things that will really help you to shine in an interview to employers. Pro tip, if you're actively job seeking right now and you're in the trenches and you're thinking these things through right now, look through the job listing and the job description to match up any skills that the employers are looking for and what you have to offer. Actually go into the job description. And if they say that if it looks like they are looking for someone who feels comfortable working in a fast-paced environment, boom, that immediately links to your adaptability skill. So that will help you to show an employer very clearly and in a very concise way, hi, I'm here and I'm the person that you're looking for. Now, we've got all of these super great skills, ideally at least a list of 10 skills that we have. We might need to narrow it down a bit. We want to make sure that we are picking the most relevant skills to highlight on our resume and in our interviews. And that's because when you submit a resume, an employer, the first time that they take a glance at it, they're really only looking at it for 7 to 8 seconds, which is not a lot of time. And so you want to show them, like I said earlier, very quickly that you are the right person for the job. And not all of these hard skills or soft skills or things like that are going to be relevant for every single position. For example, a ServSafe certification is something that people working in the food industry can earn to show that they understand, DHEC, food and health and safety protocols and procedures. That's great and that's really valuable. And if you are applying for a job in hospitality, that will serve you really well. But if you're applying for a job in healthcare where you won't be working with food, this might not be the most relevant certification to put on your resume when you could put your clinical experiences that you've been gaining in the classroom or the projects or the things that you have been doing at Greenville Tech that have been relevant to your intended career field. I often get a lot of questions of, I've never done this job before. I don't have 20 years of experience. How can I show people that I'm still good for the job? And a lot of it boils down to this relevancy and how you're wording your skills and putting it on your resume for employers to look at. So I love a good example. We've been threading through with this food service worker example, and we're going to stick with it. So the technical skills of someone who, might work at Bojangles, for example. Those employees are using a POS system, so the actual computer that you're logging orders in and tracking ticket times, things like that. You've got experience in that. You have actual experience handling cash and money and exchanging and counting. That might seem like a very basic skill, but it can be very important. You also have food safety experience, which can be transferred of an attention to detail, of understanding policies and procedures and following through with those. And some workplace skills gained by a food service worker could be teamwork, customer service, attention to detail, and communication. I'm going to talk about customer service a bit after this because it's such an invaluable skill to have nowadays. But another example that I also came up with is one that you're all applicable, that applies to all of you. And that is your role as a student. As students, you are actively building your technical skills in your classes and clinicals and hands-on experience, internships, etc. It's an exhaustive list. And the workplace skills that you're gaining just by being a student. It doesn't matter if you're employed part-time, full-time, anything like that. You're working on your time management skills because you get a syllabus at the beginning of the semester and you are responsible for doing all of your assignments in a timely manner. So you've got your time management skills, teamwork, like I've mentioned, communication with instructors and classmates. You have this vast list of things that you are doing just by being here and showing up every day. So don't forget to use them. Like I said, we're going to touch on customer service. because there can be a bit of negative stigma around jobs focused and centered on customer service. For a lot of people, they believe that food service workers or retail employees, I know I'm really heavy on the food service. In case you can't tell, I worked at a fast food restaurant in high school, so there we go. Uh, but any part-time people facing role, a lot of folks assume that this is work done by younger folks or on a part-time basis, and it isn't as valuable. There's this negative stigma around it. And this is not the case. Some folks start their secondary education and they believe I'm going to do this job so I never have to work in a customer service industry ever again. And this is not the case. It is highly likely that you will always be interacting with other people because all employers are businesses. Hospitals and clinics, you are interacting with patients, with insurance providers, with other healthcare professionals. In schools, you are interacting with parents and students and collaborators in the community, accounting or brokerage firms. You're working with clients, you're collaborating. Even in cybersecurity, where you may be staring at a computer every second of your day. You have to get your directives from someone. You will have a supervisor giving you directives, and you need to be able to interact with them in a positive and productive way. So don't sell short any customer service experience that you have because you will always be interacting with other people and you will likely always be providing some of your services to someone else. So, okay, Abigail, this is great. This is wonderful. We know this now. But how do I show an employer all of these transferable skills that I have? And it'll start with your resume and your cover letter. That is the first thing that an employer sees when you say, "Hi, I would like this job." Each bullet point that you submit, so when you are breaking down your employment history and you're listing out your objective statements and what you've done and what you've completed, every bullet point should have a goal. When you sit down to work on this, don't just say to yourself, "Okay, and I did this and this and this." Look at the job listing that says that we expect for this person to do A, B, and C, and think of, okay, how did I do A, B, and C in my job? How can I show them that I'm adaptable? Each bullet point should have a goal. I also recommend showing and not telling. This is especially relevant in a cover letter. It is one thing to say, "I have great communication skills." That's wonderful. Congratulations. But I don't know anything else aside from what you've said based off of that statement. Instead, say, "Oh, I noticed that we had a communication breakdown one day on a project, and things weren't getting done effectively. So instead, I did X, Y, and Z." And that shows me in a real life example very quickly that you have great communication skills. I don't just have to trust your word for it. When you make it to the interview and you're actively meeting with your employer for the first time, they will likely say, "Tell me about a time when. Tell me about a time when you worked in a team. Tell me about a time that you didn't meet expectations." And your answers to these questions will tell employers the transferable skills that you're utilizing and that you bring to the team. So I know that that was a lot of information for everyone. So if you've got any questions, any comments, if you've got any experience around this, I welcome your questions. Um, so I'll give you a few seconds to submit those. I think Debbie will let me know if we get any. All right, I'm going to take that as a no questions at this time. Debbie has sent a link to this survey. I also provide the QR code just in case. Please take a few minutes out of your day to complete this survey for us. It helps us build our presentations and know if what we're doing is actually helpful because we want to be helpful for you on this journey. So please just take a few moments to fill that survey out. And if you are interested in contacting us, if you'd like to set up an appointment to meet, to practice your interview skills, if you would like to send us a copy of your resume and your cover letter, a link to our website is here, along with our phone number and our email address. We are located on the Barton campus in the Stat Center, which is building 122. But thank you all so much for coming out today. I wish you the best of luck with your final exams in the coming days and weeks. And we hope that you have a wonderful end of your semester. And that concludes our Career Tip Tuesday. So thank y'all.